Hey you guys, welcome to book review 162. Today I am going to be reviewing Bali Raw, an expose of the underbelly of Bali, Indonesia. Okay, so this book is called Bali Raw, but it should really be kind of called Kuda Raw. Because as much as the author acts like it's all of Bali, it's really kind of about the Kuda scene, about the drinking scene there, about kind of the sleazy underbelly of the drinking scene, the tourist scene. Um, he kind of talks about the various fights that he gets into and the various kind of like skeezy characters he meets along the way, the various people that see prostitutes, the kind of Johns that come up from largely Australia, also from the United States, a little bit from Europe. Um, and really what it is I hate to say it, it's a little bit bogan. I really don't think that he's a bogan, but just as kind of talks about sort of bogan characters. Um, let's see, we got some specific examples. Yeah, like from Paris with Love. That's a girl named Paris that was known for giving like a bubble bath and massage to her clients and then blowing their mind. Um, Sevi's not my brother. Um, yeah, and I'd say my biggest criticism is it doesn't really cover like a larger social aspect of Bali. Kind of it covers the how to pick up prostitutes, how to get in and out of bar fights. Really tries to ramp up the drama with like Indonesian security guards. It does talk a little bit about how Indonesians, particularly in Kuta, will treat you. Specifically, cynically, how women will say that they love you or want to be your girlfriend, but obviously, if you're paying one of these girls, that's not what the case is. Now, that being said, it is a little bit different than in the West. In the West, obviously, there's a hard line between prostitution and somebody that would be like your girlfriend. Or, there's also a boyfriend too. There's gigolos that exist down here for various women that go up to Bali. The author actually said there was the three S's, which were sun, shopping, and sex that women often went up to Bali for. Not to say that there weren't plenty of Johns too. Um, yeah. Other than that, so yeah, the men will go up to or will get these Indonesian women, and it's kind of like clearly they're paid, but also there's a chance that they may become your boyfriend or girlfriend. But that just depends on kind of the circumstances involved, and most of the time that doesn't happen. But for a lot of women, the opportunity to be with a Westerner is sort of like a golden ticket out of a very rough situation in Bali. Often these women are kind of economically trapped by the circumstance that they're in. Let's see. He often talks about the bar fights that he went into. Let's see. Let's see if I can't get all the bar fights. Losing helmets when the bell tolls. Uh, yeah, like he's the heavy. He's not my brother. I'm trying to remember what all these chapters were about, but a lot of them were just about the fights that they got into. Um, I guess the other thing is it seems like the fights in Bali tend to be on a much shorter fuse than they would be maybe in America. I don't know. Australians have a reputation for fighting as well. But it seems like relatively small grievances within Kuta, not within Bali, but within Kuta, resulted in sort of these fights. Yeah, so there's all that kind of stuff. There were a couple of deaths in the book, or actually there was one death and one near death. The near death was somebody took a e-tablet and tried to have like a swimming competition. And see, this is again is an individual story. It doesn't really. It might be representative of Bali, but it's not necessarily like. It doesn't really have like an overhead view. It's a very specific story. I'm not necessarily sure it represents all of Bali or you know, etc. But yeah, they took some friends took a tablet of E, and one of them almost drowned in the pool and was in the hospital for like 3 days to recover. The other one that ends the book is of a drunk driving case where the author was out drinking with the person that unfortunately passed away. He left a little early. The guy continued to drink for another 2 or 3 hours, got on his bike, and ran straight into a taxi, which put a piece of the plastic helmet that he had into his brain, and he unfortunately passed away. Yeah, so quick on the gunfighting. That's true. Oh, the third thing is the author, Malcolm Scott. I didn't mention that at the beginning. Malcolm Scott, his brother owns a construction company and kind of property rental company. I think they do both. And that's the reason that he's up there, that he moved up there. Some of the book is dedicated to the various run-ins with people that were associated with this company. The one that I specifically remember was there was an Indonesian security guard that was massive. You know, a lot of times these guys, you know, they're just ripped. The security personnel, whether it be at bars or at construction sites, but was also a meth head, you know, ice. And he eventually had like a grievance against the company because he wasn't getting the right kickback. And so on drugs, on meth, he actually charged into Malcolm's brothers. I think his name was Nick, because Nick and Billy were his two brothers. He charged into his office and threatened the whole well, Nick, the owner, as well as his two brothers, as well as a couple other people within the company with a knife. And Malcolm was sure that somebody was going to stab them. But a police officer was in the area and luckily diffused the situation. And of course, this Indonesian security guard was fired. The irony being is that they had to hire another security guard for the belligerent behavior of the first security guard. So you had a security guard for a security guard. Other than that, let's see, where are we at? Oh, it's only a 7-minute review. What else is there? Let's see. Yeah, of course, prostitute, Mick. He talks about a lot of the nutters. A lot of the people that come up aren't just fighters or like scoundrel types. They're really kind of lost their marbles in a lot of ways. They're really kind of just washouts from, at least the ones that are mentioned in the book. And you do see this in Bali. They're kind of washouts from other cultures. I specifically think of the gray sardine. Let's see if I can find some other examples. Working girls. Ira, yeah, Ira was one of the girls that the author had a relationship with. The author, when he first moved to the country, was against the idea of paying for girls to either sleep with him or be his girlfriend. But like when he realized it was, you know, for better or worse, it was part of the culture up there. He eventually got in the same flesh pot thing that everybody else did. So take that for what you will. Mike Tyson with a machete. I think Mike Tyson might have been... yeah, that was the one that I was talking about with the knife. Just find a couple more stories to fill out the time. Angel was a legend in Bali. You know, that's another one of the prostitutes. So we got all sorts of stuff. Let's find one more good story to tell you guys. Oh, there's a guy named Mad that was literally mad. So this was not the Indonesian security guard. This was actually a Westerner that would constantly threaten. Yeah, here's a good example. That would constantly threaten the brothers' business. I should talk about two people. I should talk about Mad, and I should also talk about, I forget what his name is. His brother Nick actually got stabbed at one point with a broken bintang. That's a beer bottle, brand of beer. The guy broke it and stabbed him in the neck, and he had to get like stitches all the way up his jugular. And actually his brother when he was in the taxi, because the ambulance service is all corrupt. He actually closed his jugular shut until he could get to the hospital, and that's what really saved his life. So there's Mad. I think it's in the very first chapter that they talk about Nick being stabbed in the face. Yeah, Ankle. So there's Ankle and Mad and their friends, and they're both nuts. Ankle was the one that eventually stabbed Nick in a back alley. And actually, when Nick survived, he was able to eventually find Ankle later and got maybe like $2,000 out of him, which was a fraction of the medical bill. But Nick describes the situation where they met in a bar, paid off the bartender as patrons were in the bar, and actually beat him up pretty good. Gave him a few Jack Johnsons to the face in order to tell him obviously what he did was wrong. A big problem in Indonesia is that with the corruption of the police and even the corruption of the hospital system, things just don't work the way that they should. You know, every wheel is greased. Like if you get hurt, they want money below the table for an ambulance. If you want enforcement from the police, that's going to cost you money. At nightclubs, often they will not throw out the biggest guy because that would cause the biggest problem, or the person that's most belligerent. They'll throw out the person that got punched because they're the ones that are on the floor and are easy to remove. It's a very sort of system that very much looks out for their own interests rather than the interests of the country, or it has any sort of long-term thinking. So what was Mad's story? Where was that at? I mentioned Ankle, but then I lost Mad. Lovi, the working girl. Bali is run by Balinese. Bali breaks people. That's certainly true. Okay, well, I think I've kind of rambled on long enough. The book review is, or the book is Bali Raw, an exposé of the underbelly of Bali, Indonesia. Even further subtitled. Australian author and Bali resident Malcolm Scott exposes the brutal reality of gangs, drugs, violence, prostitution in Australia's #1 holiday destination. By Malcolm Scott. It really is a page turner. It's very quick. Check it out, you guys. I would not necessarily say take this as all of Bali, but definitely a certain section of Bali that is entertaining nonetheless, but we'll present you kind of with the seedy underbelly of what Bali is. So, see you guys. Bye.